tonight, ready to receive.
We do realize that this is a stressful time, but help is awaiting at reception and congregate shelters.
How many potential evacuees the province is preparing for as more communities flee rampaging wildfires. Also tonight, price hikes and empty shelves.
Anything from about $1 all the way up to $10, $12.
How the trade dispute with the U.S. may affect your next trip down the grocery aisle. Plus,
my husband walks in the door and he's like, "Where's the truck?" And I said, what do you mean, where's the truck?
a Winnipeg couple left baffled after thieves used an unusual method to make off with their vehicle.
CTV News. Live from downtown Winnipeg with Marilee Caruso.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Catherine Dow. Marilee is away. Despite good progress battling northern Manitoba wildfires, the province is still preparing for the worst, and it's setting up thousands of cots for potential evacuations. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew posted this video on social media. That's Kinew rolling up his sleeves and setting up cots at the RBC Convention Centre in downtown Winnipeg, one of several buildings the province can turn into an evacuation site under its state of emergency powers. Joining me now live is CTV's John Hendricks. So, John, will those cots be needed?
You know, Catherine, it's really hard to say at this point. Today, fire officials updated the wildfire situation, and there's both good and bad news. The bad news is there are still more than 120 active fires burning in Manitoba today, with 12,000 people forced from their homes in 8 communities. One of the communities most in danger is Garden Hill. The only people left there are essential personnel. Fire officials say thick smoke and intense flames are making it difficult to fight the fire. In other areas like Leaf Rapids, Lynn Lake, and Thompson, weekend rain has helped firefighting efforts.
We've had some pretty decent weather to assist us in the firefighting effort, so we're quite confident in the protections that we put in place between the fire and the city of Thompson. Of course, there's always an unknown. You know, the weather can create different situations, but based on what we've done today, we're feeling pretty good about where we're at with Thompson right now.
So then, John, why is the province preparing all those extra spaces for evacuees?
Well, wildfires are difficult to predict. Shifts in the weather can see sudden changes in a fire direction. In a worst-case scenario, if Thompson, for example, was forced to evacuate, it would mean close to 13,000 people would be fleeing to Winnipeg. So the province is using its state of emergency powers to prepare the following spaces. The Billy Mosienko Arena and Portage Curling Club both have 250 spaces. Iroquois Arena can take 280 evacuees. The largest space, the RBC Convention Centre in downtown Winnipeg, has the capacity for 4,000 cots. And the Red River X grounds could also hold around 450. Now, at the moment, the Leela Soccer Complex and the Rec Complex at the University of Winnipeg are the only 2 evacuation centers. But the additional locations that I just mentioned would see another 7,000 potential spaces for Manitoba wildfire evacuees.
Okay, let's hope we don't need those spaces. Thanks so much, John. Confusing and mind-boggling. That's how some Flin Flon residents are describing the Northern Health Region's handling of a personal care home evacuation. CTV's Danton Unger joins us now live. So, Danton, what exactly are the concerns here?
Well, Catherine, the residents of the Northern Lights Manor care home in Flin Flon were told last week they'd be able to come home as of today. But the Northern Health Region changed course, opting instead to give their beds away to other wildfire evacuees. Vincent Gay has been waiting to go home for more than a month.
Sooner the better for everybody here.
The wildfire evacuee is a resident of the Northern Lights Manor, a personal care home in Flin Flon. Wildfires forced its evacuation in May, and since then, Gay has been at a care home in Carmen, waiting for the green light to go home. That green light finally came last week when the Northern Health Region told residents they would be allowed back as of Monday.
We were all excited here and ready to go home.
But the excitement was short-lived. One day later, Gay and other residents received this letter from the region saying their return was being delayed as residents of a care home in Thompson are being proactively moved to the Northern Lights Manor. The letter says this is a precautionary decision due to the air quality and smoke levels in Thompson.
Their choice to bring in Thompson residents instead of letting our own residents in is really heart-wrenching. Mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling.
Annette Banak's grandfather is among the displaced residents of the Flin Flon care home. He's been staying at the Deer Lodge Centre in Winnipeg, hundreds of kilometers away from his family.
He's 92. He has dementia, so he's off and on in his memory, and he's been crying on the phone. It's just heartbreaking.
They aren't alone. Nearly 900 people have signed a petition calling on the province and the health region to allow the Flin Flon seniors to return and find other accommodations for Thompson residents. And now that could happen soon. Manitoba's health minister, Uzoma Azaguara, tells CTV News, I've also directed the Northern Health Region to ensure that residents of Northern Lights Manor return to Flin Flon in the coming days as quickly and safely as possible. They add plans are in place to begin repatriation in the coming days. For Gay, he says the entire process has been confusing and difficult for residents who just want to go home.
Yeah, it was very unorganized.
Now, Catherine, the Northern Health Region told CTV News in a statement the temporary relocation of Thompson residents to Flin Flon was a short-term measure in response to the rapidly evolving environmental conditions. The region confirmed residents of the Northern Lights Manor will be able to return to Flin Flon in the coming days.
All right, thanks for this, Danton. Meanwhile, Ottawa is promising more help for our province on the wildfire front. The federal emergency management minister says they have approved Manitoba's request for assistance and will be sending humanitarian workforce support to help with evacuations and shelters. That includes workers to help out in the shelters, provide meals, psychosocial and mental health support, as well as first aid. The Manitoba Métis Federation is once again collecting donations for wildfire evacuees, and they need your help to keep its shelves stocked.
We are going through donations like hotcakes.
MMF has set up an evacuation and drop-in center on McGregor Street for all evacuees. Along with meals, an internet cafe, and a kids area, it has a donation area for evacuees to shop for the things they're missing. But because of demand, it is running out of essential products, especially hygiene items, all sizes of men's clothing, and baby needs, including strollers.
We know that there are another 700 people arriving today from the Garden Hill area, and there are several other communities that are looking to evacuate in the coming days. So this is a high demand, and I would say it's higher demand than it was during our first wave at this point.
Items can be dropped off at the donation center on Ray Marius Road or at the back door of the evacuation center on McGregor Street. CTV's Daniel Halmerson joins us now with the first look at your Skywatch evening forecast. Bit of a dreary, rainy start to our week, Daniel, but we certainly need it. Is there any more rain in the forecast?
It's looking like it, Catherine. Look on the satellite here. You can see basically all afternoon it's moved across the southwest from basically the Saskatchewan border, and a second round is coming as well this evening. So plenty of rain in the forecast, but coming up I'll tell you when we could see some sunshine again. Taking a look outside right now, 17 degrees in Winnipeg, under cloudy, maybe a little smoky skies with some rainfall. Wind out of the south, light at 9 kilometers per hour. The pressure's rising, and Catherine, the humidity sitting at 92%.
The Bathfitter Live Eye is brought to you by Bathfitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years.
Thanks, Daniel. It's quite a pickle and could be a sign of the times at a Sobeys on Kenaston Boulevard. A sign on a shelf says Bick's pickles are not available because of tariffs. As CTV's Jeff Keel shows you now, another local grocer is not surprised, as he says tariffs are causing shortages and price hikes.
Downtown Family Foods manager Braden Haleko says they're feeling the impact from the trade war with the U.S.
Anything from about $1 all the way up to $10, $12.
Earlier this year, President Donald Trump imposed tariffs on a number of Canadian goods, including aluminum and steel, for which Canada retaliated. Haleko says those tariffs are pushing up the price of some of the staples on his store shelves.
When the new stock started to come in is when we started to notice hikes in things like orange juice, yogurts, anything that really would come from the United States.
And it appears one of his larger competitors is letting their customers know just how much the tariffs are affecting what they can keep stocked. This Sobeys on Kenniston Boulevard has a sign on one of their shelves that reads, Bix pickles are currently unavailable as an unfortunate impact of tariffs. We are pleased to offer a selection of alternatives for your shopping convenience.
It wouldn't surprise me if you start seeing more signs like that because, as I said, we've noticed definitely a few things that are starting to get hit.
Several grocers and retailers have put maple leaf labels on shelves to highlight Canadian products, and Loblaws announced in May it was identifying items impacted by tariffs with a letter T. But food professor Sylvain Charlebois is not entirely sure why Sobeys is having a pickle problem.
Does it mean that they can't actually price the product properly? Is it about access? What is it about? Is this a political move? Is this like the tea at Loblaw?
Still, he says tariffs are taking a toll.
Coffee is a good example. If you go to the grocery store right now in Winnipeg, you'll see coffee prices are much higher because of counter tariffs.
Jeff Keel, CTV News Winnipeg.
And CTV News reached out to Sobeys, and we are waiting for a response. A 37-year-old man is dead following a shooting in the Interlake. RCMP were called to a residence in Toulon last night. They found a man who had been shot and rushed him to hospital, but he died. Mounties in the area spotted a vehicle believed to have been involved in the shooting and tried to pull it over. A brief chase ensued, which ended with the vehicle holed up in a cornfield. Police surrounded the field and eventually arrested a 24-year-old man. The suspect is now in custody, and RCMP say they aren't looking for any more suspects. And Winnipeg police had to talk a suspect out of a retention pond in an assault incident over the weekend. It happened at the University of Manitoba's track and field stadium on Saturday afternoon. Police say a man was acting aggressively in the stadium's viewing stands. Campus security tried to get him to leave, but the man wouldn't cooperate. Police say he threatened 3 security guards and a coach with a rock and a homemade pointed weapon. When officers arrived, they found the suspect hiding in a nearby retention pond, and he refused to come out. About an hour later of trying to communicate with the suspect, police did take him into custody. A 45-year-old man now faces weapons and assault charges. No one was hurt in the incident. Vehicles get stolen every day in Winnipeg, but stolen by a tow truck? Well, that's unusual. CTV's Harrison Shin brings us the story.
Tiffany Schritt and her husband Jason didn't notice anything wrong right away last week.
It was Friday morning. He went to work at 7 in the morning. And I worked during the day doing other things. And he had come home at about 5:30.
That is until they went to load their truck with supplies.
I was getting ready because we were going to go to the lake. And my husband walks in the door and he's like, "Where's the truck?"
Tiffany checked their security camera and saw something shocking.
It was 3:30 a.m., 3:27 a.m. to be exact. And we saw a tow truck go by, like from left to right. And then it must have turned around at the end of the street.
Soon after, it hitched onto Jason's truck in pristine condition.
Came back, proceeded to back up into the truck, lifted it really quickly. And we had a trailer on the back of the truck because we carry other stuff on top of there. And he slammed into it, lifted it up, and drove away immediately, like didn't even strap down.
They called to check if the truck was towed for a legitimate reason.
It was not with any of the towing companies. We proceeded to call the police, and they checked all the towing companies as well and said that there was nothing there. So yeah, it's officially stolen.
Winnipeg police told CTV News that the case is being investigated as a stolen vehicle, and the city confirmed that there were no active tow orders in the area at the time. While it's not known who was driving the tow truck, the mental toll is high for the couple.
It's really stressful when your own personal item gets stolen that's of high value to you. It may mean nothing to somebody else, but it means a lot to us.
Harrison Shin, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The chief medical examiner has called for an inquest into the death of a First Nations inmate who died following a standoff at the Headingley Correctional Center in 2021. The inquest will seek to understand the circumstances of William Amo's death and what, if anything, can be done to prevent something similar in the future. The 45-year-old died 7 days after a chaotic confrontation, during which he was put into a restraint chair and ultimately suffered cardiac arrest. His death was ruled a homicide, and one corrections officer went to trial on charges of criminal negligence causing death and failing to provide the necessities of life. He was found not guilty. In an email statement, a lawyer for the Amo family said it's unclear why the inquest is happening now, 9 months after the criminal case appeal window closed, but says they look forward to it starting as soon as possible. And the inquest into Amo's death is only one of 7 the chief medical examiner announced today. 5 are related to the hanging deaths of inmates at Stony Mountain Institution in 2020. The other is an accidental overdose at the facility in 2021. Manitoba's Families and Accessibility Minister Nahani Fontaine is committing her team to training in response to criticism over her comments during a speech a few weeks ago.
A couple of weeks ago, I used language that caused harm to the deaf and hard of hearing community. That moment doesn't reflect how I feel about deaf and hard of hearing Manitobans, ASL interpreters, or accessibility as a whole. I appreciate ASL is more than just language. It's deeply connected to deaf culture and community.
Fontaine was caught on camera complaining about sharing the stage with an ASL interpreter. The hot mic moment was captured by APTN National News after Fontaine had delivered a speech at a grad ceremony. Fontaine had been accompanied on stage by an ASL interpreter as she delivered the speech. In a social media post this past weekend, Fontaine apologized again for her remarks and promised her team will undergo deaf culture training and take other measures to enhance understanding and inclusion. The City Committee has approved a height variance for a building going up in the Exchange District. The Property and Development Committee voted in favor of the appeal for the Marketland project. It calls for 2 buildings, one between 4 and 6 stories and the other 16 stories, which exceeds the 100-foot maximum by 68 feet. The Public Service had recommended denying the appeal, but the committee did not agree, approving the application. Still ahead, from bad to worse.
It's like, what is going on that is causing this?
Which Canadian city had among the worst air quality on the planet today due to wildfire smoke? Plus, Trump levels serious economic threats at Russia's Putin unless the war in Ukraine comes to an end. Those stories just ahead. Taking a look at the markets, crude oil lost $1.47. The loonie saw little change. Gold futures fell nearly $5. The TSX added 175 points. The Dow Jones gained 88 points, and the Nasdaq rose 54. A new poll suggests Manitobans and Winnipeggers are among the least happy in the country. Leger has just released the results of its Canadian Happiness Index. Manitoba came in 9th out of 10 provinces, just ahead of Prince Edward Island. Winnipeg also came in second last out of 10 major cities, just a hair above Toronto. Quebec and Mississauga, Ontario took the top spots as happiest province and city, respectively. The results were gleaned from an online survey of nearly 40,000 Canadians during the first 2 weeks of April. If you've spent any time outside lately, you've seen the haze in the air from those wildfires. Today, it is so bad, the air quality in Canada's largest city is one of the worst in the whole world. CTV's Adrian Gabriel has more.
The View commuting into Canada's largest city.
It looks kind of like Delhi, maybe Beijing, something very industrial. There's not enough industry in Toronto to warrant this type of smog. Yes, it's like, what is going on that is causing this?
A jet stream is pushing wildfire smoke across parts of the country.
The situation right now is that the air systems that are in the, say, in central parts of the Canadian prairies are then picked up by the wind patterns that are carrying that air down to the southeast from where it is then to now over where we are in southern Ontario.
This Environment Canada data shows the plume blanketing parts of the country from Saskatoon through Manitoba, Ontario, and into Quebec.
The wildfire smoke actually contains a number of harmful substances and chemicals.
Young children, pregnant women, the elderly, and those with chronic respiratory conditions are being advised to stay indoors.
Someone with asthma, other lung diseases, heart disease, diabetes, even actually someone who's quite healthy but might be active outdoors or working outdoors can be impacted by these exposures as well.
I got allergic rhinitis, so it's definitely not great for me when the quality is like that.
As of this afternoon, the Swiss air quality tracker IQ Air had Toronto sitting at 5th worst in the world. At one point this morning, it sat at number 2 on the planet. The concerning air quality alerts come just as Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa are all under a heat warning.
It just seems to be a lot drier and more dramatic than it once was.
Models indicate that the smoke could linger over parts of Ontario and Quebec into Wednesday, possibly even Thursday. Adrian Gobro, CTV News, Toronto.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was in attack mode today, going after the Prime Minister for promises made about his financial assets and potential conflict of interest. Mark Carney has now disclosed a fuller picture of his investments to the Ethics Commissioner. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
There is a cornucopia of conflicts of interest in these investments.
The Conservative leader is raising concerns about the Prime Minister's business dealings in his past life. Before entering politics, Mark Carney sat on the boards of Brookfield Asset Management and Stripe, a credit card software company. He has millions of dollars of assets in the two companies, which he put in a blind trust.
I comply with my responsibilities. I comply with the rules well in advance.
New disclosures filed by Carney to the Ethics Commissioner revealed that Brookfield and Stripe own or control more than 100 other corporations, including clean energy businesses and real estate.
The list of potential conflicts goes on and on. How can he possibly be involved in developing a budget when all the tax policies could impact on his investments directly or indirectly?
The Commissioner's office says the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Marc-André Blanchard, and Privy Council Clerk, Michael Sabia, will be in charge of screening Carney's government decisions, which Carney says will prevent him from giving preferential treatment to any of the companies while he exercises his official powers and duties.
As long as they're invested in businesses while they're in public office, their investments will taint every decision and cause them to make decisions in their own interests, even if they claim not to be doing that.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says the only way to ensure that the Prime Minister won't breach his ethical guidelines is for Mark Carney to sell all his assets, then hand over control of the funds to a trustee to invest. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
One of the 4 Quebecers accused of plotting to create an anti-government militia and forcibly seize land near Quebec City was in court for a bail hearing today. Corporal Matthew Forbes is facing weapons charges. He was granted bail with conditions, including wearing a GPS tracker and surrendering weapons and ammunition to the RCMP. The other 3 men are facing terrorism-related charges, and they have bail hearings scheduled for next week. Meanwhile, the Armed Forces has confirmed 2 of the accused were active Army reservists, while a 3rd had been released from duty 3 years ago. The 4th man was a civilian instructor with an air cadet squadron. Donald Trump is trying to increase pressure on Vladimir Putin. He's threatening to increase tariffs against Russia unless there's a ceasefire deal with Ukraine. Meanwhile, he says he's sending more weapons to Ukraine. Christiane Cordero reports.
In a significant shift of policy, President Trump today is putting the pressure of a ceasefire deal in Vladimir Putin's court with a 50-day ultimatum.
But we're very, very unhappy with him, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means.
It's unclear exactly what penalties would be imposed on Russia should it not agree to a ceasefire by Trump's deadline. A bipartisan bill sponsored by Senators Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal would impose a 500% tariff on countries that buy Russian oil, gas, and uranium, something Trump signaled support for. The president, who met with NATO Secretary Mark Rutte in the Oval Office today, also announced a new weapons deal for Ukraine.
We're going to do something a little different for this country. We're going to supply weapons to NATO at a large amount. They're going to deliver the weapons, and they're going to pay for 100% of the weapons.
Trump said the new shipments will include Patriot missiles and batteries, and that the weapons should arrive in Europe within days. Ukrainian President Zelensky today meeting with Special Envoy Keith Kellogg.
We are thankful to President Trump for his all messages and very strong decisions about resuming delivers for us, and we are thankful for bipartisan support.
The past month has been especially challenging for Ukraine as Russia increased its aggression, killing more than 200 civilians in June, the highest death toll in 3 years. The NATO chief today emphasized this weapons agreement goes beyond Patriot air defense systems, calling into question what all is included in this deal and what effect that could possibly have on the war. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Tesla is setting up a showroom in India, hoping to enter a massive new market. The showroom in Mumbai will open tomorrow. Elon Musk has said he's concerned about India's high tariffs. Import duties on fully built vehicles can go as high as 100%. Tesla's move into India is said to be exploratory. The company is hoping there will be Indian buyers who will pay a premium for the brand, even with high import costs. Nearly 1.5 million people experienced the thrills of the Calgary Stampede this year, but the festival fell just shy of the attendance record set in 2024. Officials say they missed that record by less than 8,000 people, but the 2025 edition of the greatest outdoor show on earth wasn't without issue. There were concerns over public safety and overcrowding after 3 people were stabbed following a performance at the Coke stage. Police are still looking for suspects.
We try to get the prices as low as we possibly can, and that's part of the model of this program.
A program inspired by a late city councillor is bringing more affordable groceries to one Winnipeg neighborhood. We'll explain just ahead.
And the sun will be returning as we move into the midweek, but more rain on the way before the weekend. I'll have your complete Skywatch forecast coming up.
Have a news tip? When you see news happening, let CTV News Winnipeg know. Text your tips, pictures, and videos to 10400. That's 10400. Message and data rates may apply.
Access to groceries in Elmwood might have just become a little bit easier. Morris Place Community Center launched a new grocery access program on Saturday. The program aims to lower the cost and increase accessibility of grocery products. It offers pantry staples like soup, cereal, canned goods, and pasta sauce. The project was inspired by the late City Councillor Jason Schreier, who passed away suddenly in late April.
He was very instrumental in even supplying this program. Jason personally brought a lot of the food into this building that we're selling here today, and it's very unfortunate. It's such a shame that he wasn't here to see it come to fruition.
No means test is required to access the program. In-person shopping is available on the first and third Saturdays of each month from 1 to 4 p.m. Delivery is also available, focusing on seniors' housing, low-income complexes, and schools. The Winnipeg Jets have signed a contract extension for their fourth-line center. Morgan Barron has signed a 2-year contract with the Jets. The 26-year-old recorded 15 points with the Jets last year. The Halifax native has become a reliable penalty killer since joining the Jets in 2022. The contract is worth $3.7 million.
CTV Skywatch Weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
And CTV's Daniel Halmerson is back with your complete Skywatch weather forecast. Daniel, I think judging by that large green kind of mass on the radar behind you, we've got a bit of an exciting night ahead weather-wise.
Yeah. Rain in the forecast, hopefully not the thunderstorms that we were seeing late last week. But yeah, this system's been moving across the southern part of the prairies over the past several hours. And another one's moving in closer to the Dauphin area. So stay tuned, folks. We could see more rain as we move through the evening. Now, last week we talked a lot about air quality statements and warnings. Well, tonight, only a couple to show you here in Manitoba, down in the southeast near Nopaming Provincial Park. That encompasses Lac du Bonnet, Pinawa, Victoria Beach, also one across the border in northwest Ontario. And then the one that I'm pointing out right now, Norway House Cross Lake area. That's not to say the rest of the province isn't feeling the effects of wildfire smoke right now. It's a little less concentrated, so we'll see how that pans out as we move through the week. Tonight, as I mentioned, some showers throughout southern Manitoba. Fairly clear in the north, scattered showers here and there. As we move into Tuesday, though, you'll see it clears up by mid-morning tomorrow, giving way to a little more sunshine basically throughout the entire province as we move even into Wednesday. So the kind of dreary weather we saw today is giving way for a little bit better. 14 degrees in Winnipeg tonight, that chance of showers with wind out of the southeast. Tomorrow morning, the showers could remain until around 10 a.m., but clearing for a mix of sun and cloud, high of 21. But look at those winds, 30 gusting up to 50 in the afternoon. And as we look around the province tonight, up in the north, we have lows of 7 in Thompson, 9 in Churchill. Tomorrow, mainly sunny throughout the region. In the northwest, dipping down to 12 in the Paw tonight under cloudy skies, 9 in Flin Flon, 21, plenty of sunshine tomorrow. In the southwest, 12 in Brandon and Neepawa tonight, 20 tomorrow with fairly cloudy skies. Here in Winnipeg, as I mentioned, 14 tonight, fairly similar across the rest of the region as well. 21 tomorrow. Pretty cloudy, and just over the border, risk of some thunderstorms in Dryden and Fort Francis tonight, but cloudy skies tomorrow. And our first weather pick of the day, this one's from Churchill. If you look, that is a cargo ship coming into the port. Very cool. Thanks for that, April. And Christine sent this one from Winnipeg Beach. This was from yesterday morning. Just a beautiful sunrise. You can keep those photos coming to Winnipeg Weather at ctv.ca.
Coming up, a study finds obesity rates in Canada spiked during the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll take a look at the numbers. That's next in Medical Watch. Manitobans appear to be feeling the financial pinch after back-to-back interest rate pauses. That's one of the key findings from the new MNP Consumer Debt Index, which points to intensifying fears across the prairies surrounding debt levels, with significantly more respondents saying they are concerned that rising interest rates could drive them towards bankruptcy. Joining me now to unpack some of these findings and share a few tips to those concerned, we have Brad Milne, a Manitoba-based licensed insolvency trustee with MNP. Brad, hello. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
So let's start off with that first bit of data that nearly half of all respondents, that's about 46%, fear that those rising interest rates, or that could be coming, could potentially push them into bankruptcy. And I understand that's a big jump from last quarter.
Yeah, it is definitely a significant increase. And I think if I draw upon my own experience as a licensed insolvency trustee, where we're constantly meeting with people and coming up with options for debt relief. And as part of that, we're always, investigating what is the cause of the financial difficulty. And, in some cases, it's usually, unexpected life events like marital breakup or health problems. But I've noticed a significant increase in people identifying inflation and higher interest rates and so on as probably becoming more the leading cause of financial trouble for people.
So less to do with those surprise costs and more to do with this inflation, cost of living going up, etc. Interesting stuff. Another takeaway, Brad, I understand a significant number of Manitoba and Saskatchewan residents are concerned about their ability to repay their debts, even if interest rates do decline. To me, that feels notable because even with some good news on the horizon, it could still not be enough.
Yeah, I agree. I was looking at the filing statistics that the Office of the Superintendent of Bankruptcy maintains, and on one hand, if we look at filing numbers for Manitoba, May 2024 versus May 2025, we're actually, our filing numbers are down about 4.5%. But if we look at the year in its entirety, we are actually we're about a increase by about 1%. So I think we could be, and I noticed we're quite a bit busier this month than we were, in April, May. So I think we are, seeing a slight increase in people, having to consider filing a proposal to creditors or maybe even bankruptcy.
And Brad, what were some of the other key findings that stuck out to you from this latest index?
Well, one of the things I thought was really interesting is that, in a case like this, if we were meeting people, would say, okay, well, let's, one of the options a person should look at is trying to become more efficient with their discretionary spending. Things that you have choice over how you spend your money, whether it be dining out or entertainment or, those things. And one of the things that the MNP Consumer Debt Index found was that in Manitoba, 45% of the people polled were already taking the initiative to tighten up their discretionary spending. So I thought that was actually a good sign.
Well, that's one way to save a few bucks, but for those who are watching who are really concerned not only about interest rates, but just their overall financial health, what are some other steps they can take to kind of relieve some of that pressure and hopefully not have to take the measure of actually facing bankruptcy?
Yeah, well, I think one step, revisit your budgeting, see where you can save money in your discretionary spending. But the other, it would also be, consulting with your financial institution. If you have a series of credit cards and maybe a line of credit, and your credit is pretty good, maybe you recognize that you're servicing the debt, but you're not making any progress in paying it down in a significant way. It might be worth meeting with your financial advisor to see if you can consolidate the debt into a single interest-free payment. The other thing I would suggest as well is that, for example, if a person's meeting with a licensed insolvency trustee, bankruptcy isn't really the only option that people have. The more common way to get relief from debt today is actually through something called a consumer proposal, where the debts are consolidated generally into a single interest-free payment, usually at a reduced settlement amount. That's probably more, of a resort somebody might consider if they've gone to the bank and they can't consolidate. But so I would say the first step is, to consult with your local, where you do your banking and so on, and see if they have an option for you.
All right, some good tips there. We will leave it there, Brad. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Alberta now has more confirmed cases of measles this year than the entire United States, after 30 more people were diagnosed with the virus over the weekend. The province is reporting more than 1,300 infections since the outbreak began in March. By comparison, the U.S. CDC is reporting more than 1,200 cases of the highly contagious disease this year. Nicotine pouches are growing in popularity, but now a new study finds they're also a fast-growing source of nicotine poisoning in young children. The U.S.-based study looked at cases of children under 6 who accidentally ingested nicotine through products like vapes, gums, and lozenges. Most types of exposure fell after 2016, but exposures from one delivery method, nicotine pouches, shot way up, rising more than 760%. Nicotine pouches, which are tucked between the gum and lip, are increasingly popular among teens and young adults. The CDC says they've become the second most used nicotine product among young people. A new study released just this morning takes a deeper look into rising obesity rates in Canada during the pandemic. The study, published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, looked at obesity rates over a 15-year period. It found Canada's obesity rate took off from the years 2020 to 2023 at about the rate compared to the 11 years before. The rise was particularly steep for young adults. As for the reason why, the study suggests lockdown restrictions did play a role, as well as stress related to work and childcare. Could exercise be the elixir of youth? Well, a new study finds that doing exercises that increase your heart rate and breathing rate on a regular basis may reduce your risk of an early death across all causes by up to 40%. The meta-analysis of 85 studies looked at 7 million people worldwide. Age didn't really seem to matter. Researchers found that people who started exercising at older ages could also increase their longevity. The study was published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manukin Koster Denture Clinic.
An honor fit for a folk music icon. Plus, the Man of Steel dominates the weekend box office. Spotlight is next.
Spotlight, sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting R&B legends TLC.
Legendary Canadian folk music icon Bruce Cockburn has been officially honored by the City of Winnipeg. Cockburn, who performed at the first Winnipeg Folk Festival and at the 50th edition, which wrapped up yesterday, has been given the key to the city. The honor was presented at Folk Fest Saturday by Mayor Scott Gillingham. The key to the city is Winnipeg's highest honor, recognizing the significant contributions of dignitaries visiting the city. And nothing could keep anime fans from attending Icon over the weekend. Icon 2025 kicked off on Friday night and continued throughout the weekend at the RBC Convention Center. The event brought together fans of anime, video games, and Japanese culture. It featured cosplay contests, voice actor panels, dance workshops, and marketplaces of local artists and vendors. Compared to last year, it appears to be only growing.
I think it's great. I feel like it's doubled in size since we came last year, but there was no punishment last year, but I feel like it's doubled in size since last year. So it's growing every year, which is nice to see.
This family-friendly event started way back in 2001 at the University of Manitoba and has grown into one of the biggest fan events in Western Canada. According to the organizers, the last in-person Icon drew more than 10,000 attendees. And the new Superman reboot soared to #1 at the weekend box office.
I would question myself in the same situation and consider the consequences.
People were going to die. The superhero film brought in $122 million US across North America. It was the first in the franchise featuring David Corenswet as the Man of Steel. Last week's #1 Jurassic World Rebirth slid to the second spot with $40 million in ticket sales, and F1 was in third with $13 million. And this past weekend marked the 40th anniversary of one of the most famous concerts ever. Freddie Mercury and Queen delivered an iconic performance at London's Wembley Stadium as part of Live Aid. The event was organized to raise money for famine relief in Africa. In addition to the stage in London, there were also performances in Philadelphia. The event, which lasted for 16 hours, raised $125 million. The entire event was carried live on television worldwide, including here in Canada on Much Music. And you can kick off your week with American Ninja Warrior at 7, and at 9, catch The Rookie. It's all right here tonight on CTV.
He's not fat. There's just more of him to love. Where this hefty marmot was spotted and how he may have gotten so big, that's still ahead.
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by S&Teak Spa Salon.
Below seasonal temperatures to begin the week, and much of the same heading all the way to the weekend. A high of 25 on Saturday and 26 on Sunday.
Thank you, Daniel. A rather massive marmot in Kamloops is stealing hearts and going viral.
As I was rounding the corner of a pond, I gasped because I see this mega fat marmot.
Marmots rarely capture the attention of Taylor Borth, but this one was too big to ignore and seemingly happy to pose for pictures. She believes the marmot is a male who may have been overfed by visitors at the park. Her photos have since gone viral online, with wildlife fans showing lots of love for the chunky rodent. Nothing, we don't body shame here.
No, he is so cute.
He emerged, you know, from his winter hibernation with a few, you know, layers to keep him warm. So we like him.
As I was saying, I have a cat that kind of looks exactly like that at home.
More to love, as we said. All right, that's going to do it for us. Remember, you can find CTV News anytime on our website, and be sure to join us for CTV News at 11:30. Good night.